I'm here with one of our TAVI patients, and it's a great opportunity to ask how he actually would do a TAVI himself. No, that's not the real question. We're going to ask him just a little bit about before and after. I'm Malik, I'm one of the cardiologists here at Hammersmith Hospital. So thanks for taking part in this. So I suppose the starting point is, was it worth it?
It was very much worth it, I would say.
Okay, and why was it worth it?
Well, I think because it changes your life. It changes your life back to where you were before. Well, at least I hope it is. I'm on the path there, not there yet completely, but
yeah, you're 1 month out, and so you're definitely on the upslope again. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm always very interested in informed consent. Okay, so we tell you about it, and you say yes, but you know, I think I could probably sell anything to anyone. I'm a great salesman. Yeah. But what do you remember of the consent process? What did we tell you was the pro and the con of having this done?
Well, the cons were the risks.
And what were they? What do you remember?
Well, the risk, I do remember that actually, because when I went to St Charles Hospital, they said, if you don't have this done, you've got a 50% chance of dying in the next 5 years. When I came here, I said that to Dr. Fertelman, and he said, no. You have a 50% chance of dying in the next 2 years. So, but actually I'd already decided, you know, and of course the other risk is a stroke, aren't they? That's sort of quite a, but stroke, I don't know, I mean, and they sort of lumped it together as 5% chance.
Well, you're very well remembered.
Yeah, but I imagine, of course, that's broken down, isn't it?
It is. So it's about, for our program, it's about 1.5% death. It's about 2% stroke. And then the heart attack and bleeding and things, another 2 or 3%. And I don't really count a pacemaker, because I think you avoided having a pacemaker.
I did, yeah.
As another 5% risk, but it's not really a complication because the electrical cables run very close to where we put the valve in. And so if you need a pacemaker, you need a pacemaker, but you didn't need one. These days the pacing rates are going down just because of the way we're putting the valve in.
Right.
Well, you remember the risks very, very well. So clearly someone explained it very clearly to you. Yeah. And you've now explained the benefits of the TAVI, where your symptoms have got much, much better. What's the medication you're taking now?
I'm having aspirin and something that deals with the acid in your stomach. I can't think what it's called.
The lansoprazole, just to keep the aspirin at bay, as it were. Okay, fine. And that's it, is it?
That's fine, yeah.
Amazing. And how old are you, may I ask?
84.
Wonderful. Listen, you're a great looking 84. I'm hoping we've given you another 10 years at least. And
more than that.
More than that. Well, the average, because we looked into this when I did a 100-year-old. So the 100-year-old has about on average 2 years more of life on average. Right. That means 50% will last longer than that, 50 will be less.
Yes.
And at 84, it's about 8 years on average of life, but that you look an above average individual to me, and so it's likely that you'll squeak into your 90s pretty easily, and so that's what we're hoping. Good. And all you need to do is take an aspirin a day, because that keeps the valve reasonably chipper, we think.
Right. Oh, okay, yes.
Okay, well listen, great. Thanks for talking to us and looking so spectacular today.
Yeah. I'm interested in the cost of the whole thing.
Yes.
I looked online actually, and there's an American report saying it was sort of $58,000. So that's about sort of £40,000 sterling.
Yeah.
Is that about?
So it does. It costs the NHS about £40,000. A lot of that is the cost of the valve itself, because each of these valves that we put in is like hand manufactured. Yes. And the cheapest one is about £14,000-15,000, and the most expensive one is about £25,000. So the valve itself is the majority cost. A surgical valve only costs about £3,000. So you would say, well, that's a silly thing. We should do more surgery. But of course, that requires intensive care unit. Yeah. That requires 6-8 weeks of rehabilitation. That requires 1 week in hospital. And so actually, it becomes a cost-effective exercise if, in fact, you could be suitable for either, that we just do the TAVI, even though the valve is so much more expensive. Yeah. Because of course here also we have a day case TAVI program, so we can come in and go home the same day, saving a lot of bed capacity in the hospital. And that's one of our problems at the moment, that we haven't got the beds to do the work that we need. So about 35 to 40k is correct. That's the NHS price. If you want to pay privately, it'll be a little bit more expensive. Private hospitals charge a bit more, but that's the NHS price. And the hospital actually does reasonably well out of it because we get a tariff price from the NHS. And the faster we do it, the less money we're spending, but we still get the same tariff.
Right.
And we don't have to pay for the valve individually in the hospital. The NHS has a central contact with the companies. And so the valve is paid for by NHS supply chain, NHS procurement at a central level.
Right.
So we used to negotiate with the companies individually, and that meant there was quite a variation in cost for the NHS. Imperial's not a bad negotiator, okay, because we do a lot of research, and being at Imperial means that if the company's kit is being used at Imperial, then other hospitals might say, oh, well, they're pretty good. We will probably use that kit. And so we used to lever that to get very good prices.
Right.
Now,
so somebody's pretty good at negotiating.
Now that's been taken away from us, so now the whole NHS negotiates on a bulk contract. So we don't have to worry about the valve. They're available to us on the NHS. We have to worry about our beds to get you in.
That was the difficulty with me. I sort of, this was fourth time lucky. But it nearly didn't happen then, actually, except it was, what's the name of the TAVI nurse? Hongai, yes. She was the one who did the deal at the end.
Did she? Wow, okay. I suspect
she
there may be
forced
someone.
the issue.
I suspect there may have been someone behind Hongai even forcing the issue even more.
There was.
So poor old Hongai.
I threatened to turn up
the
next day with my bag at 8 o'clock and saying, come on, let's do it.
I agree, and it's a real difficulty with our bed capacity, and you weren't quite suitable for a day case procedure because otherwise we could have done it as a day case and got you in a lot quicker. Right. So the day case is an innovative program, and I'll mention one innovation that we had here. During COVID, all NHS hospitals were pretty much closed for business. And so we had a deal with one of the private hospitals in London, and we carried on our TAVI program. That was very expensive. And so now post-COVID, where we still had a very big waiting list, I've done a deal with our internal private wing. And so some of our NHS patients go to our internal private wing in return for the fact that I said we will also do our private cases not elsewhere but internally, so that the hospital earns revenue from the private patients that are coming in, and in turn not only do we use the facilities of the private sector, but of course the volume in NHS is so large, we can train up our private wing so that the private TAVI can be done here much more safely. So it was a win-win.
Sort of win on both sides,
which has, again, freed up our bed base somewhat. So you have to be creative in this world to actually get things to happen. Sitting on your backside is not going to work. No, but you're a great success story, and thank you very much for chatting to us.
It's a pleasure.
Okay.